Hey, here's my top 5 list of plugins for mixing that are absolutely free. In fact, you can do a whole mix using only these plugins. So keep watching if you want to hear about an EQ that can train your ears, some vintage compressors and saturators with modern twists, and some sound effects that sound surprisingly nice and packs a lot of creative features. And if you stay with me all the way to the end, I have a bonus plugin that will really top things off, making this video go off with a bang. In about 10 seconds I'm getting into the content, but before that, the Logic Pro session that I use in this video is included in the free template pack that you can download. The link is in the description. First off, the Blindfold EQ. The Blindfold EQ is a plugin from Audio Thing, and it's basically a 4-band EQ with a low shelf, a high shelf, and 2 mid bands. One mid band that goes all the way down to about approximately 200 Hz, and one that goes all the way up to I think 8 or 10 kilohertz. What I like about this plugin is that the window is resizable, so you can make the plugin as big as you want it to be, and it has buttons for coloring the sound, such as the soft clip button and the analog button. You can get some really nice sweet harmonic distortions from those, just like an old school EQ. The main feature actually in this EQ is that there are no numbers, so you have to dial by ear, and in this way you just dial and you can get really specific because you can adjust the Q setting, so you can have a really narrow cut or boost and also very wide. So that's a good feature, I think. You can turn each band on and off, which is also really practical to A/B test. It lacks a high pass filter and a low pass filter. I tend to use those as well, so that might be a drawback. And I don't like the randomizer. It's a randomizer function, maybe for some creative use, but in my mixing day-to-day workflow, it doesn't suit me very well, but I just leave that be. I think the best thing about this, except that it has a nice sound, is that it teaches me to listen instead of looking at the numbers. And that's a feature I really like. I appreciate it. Let me show you how it works. Without the EQ, the kick is a bit anonymous and bassy, subby, but with the Blindfold EQ, I made it more come to life. And if you had any value out of this video so far, hit the like button. Next up, a couple of compressors, and I've put these 2 compressors into one category actually because they belong together, they fit like gloves, and that's the 1176 and the LA2A. In this case, they're from Analog Obsession, and they're called the Fetish and the Lala. So I'll take the Fetish first. This is a compressor that emulates the classic 1176 compressor, where the input knob basically drives the compression and the output knob is the gain match. And then you have the attack and release settings, which are really fast, even set to slow. These are fast suckers. And you have the ratio settings, and you also have the slam function, which basically is the all buttons in mode. And in addition to all these classic features, you also have a wet dry button, a mix knob, and you have sidechain possibilities, which are better and richer than in most other plugins, because you have some options for the high end, some options for the mid-range, and of course the sidechain high pass filter. That's the Fetish. And then I like that name. It's sort of kinky. And then you have the Lala, which is based on the LA2A, the classic compressor. And these 2 compressors used in conjunction is a classic way of compressing vocals. And the Lala features, of course, the peak reduction button and the gain knob. And these are set at the same side of the VU meter, unlike the classic LA2A. And at the other side of the VU meter, you have the section of sidechain alternatives, just as on the Fetish. And you also have a mix button on this one. And I also forgot to mention that you have the option of turning on and off external source. So you see here, the external is on off. The same goes for the Fetish. And this is just to, if you have an external sidechain, such as sidechaining a kick to a bass, for example. Now let me show you how I've used these 2 in the beat that I've made. Next up, we have Rust, and that's a plugin from Viator DSP. Again, absolutely free, and this gives some lo-fi distortion capabilities. It's like an old tape machine that has a lot of hiss and dust, and you can adjust the hiss and dust to your pleasing. You can even adjust the movement, and the main function, in my opinion, is the H button, which is basically the saturation knob. And you also have an input fader that you can use to crank up the volume to get a more prominent saturation. This plugin is nice to use on buses and maybe on the main bus or maybe on 1 or 2 instruments, but since you have that hiss and dust going on all the way, you can't just load up this plugin on every track, because then you will get this massive buildup of hiss and dust, even though you have it set on the lowest setting. This is just for 1 or 2 instances, in my opinion, in a mixing situation. Now, let me show you how the Rust works in my beat session right here. Next up is the Tal Reverb 4. This is a free reverb plugin. It's a plate emulation, and in my opinion, it's sort of a simple version of the Lexicon 224. It gives a lush and quite diffused and metallic sounding reverb. It only supports stereo channels, but in my opinion, that's the only thing I need because I use them as sound effects anyways. And so let's have a look at it. Here it is on the snare. So I've turned down the dry hair, turned up the wet to 100%. This is like a pre-delay, and the size is sizable. It doesn't operate in milliseconds, but in percent. So it's a matter of feel. Next sound effect up is the Valhalla Freak Echo. Frequency echo. It's a basic echo, but you have a shift button. This is the magic juice of this plugin and this plugin's raison d'être. When you turn this knob, you will get some psychedelic results because it will switch or shift the pitch. And of course, you have the standard controls. It's a simple plugin. You can use it for basic delays and echoes, but you can also use it to create some interesting sounds. Let me show you how I used it in this beat session. I've put it straight to a track here. That's not my standard mode of operating, but I've done that now. I have the mix on 50%. This is a sound that is quite far back in the mix, and I have played with the shift. I can turn the shift off and you can listen. Standard vanilla delay, and now with And now comes the magical one, the Kranghelm Mjuk Jr. This is a fantastic looking plugin and it has some fantastic sound in it. It's beautiful to even out sources. You have a simple compressor knob, you have a simple makeup gain, and you have fast attack, slow attack, and the auto, and those are also related to release. So it's almost like a one knob action type of plugin. You can get results fast. Let me show you how I used it in this session. Let me know in the comments which free plugin is your favorite, and I would love to know and get some insights. And don't forget to download my free Logic template pack. The link is in the description. And if you want to know what my top 5 compressors are, check out this video, because here I will go through 5 of my most used compressors. And thank you for still watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I hope I see you in the next video. Peace!